What's up? What's up? Good afternoon, whatever. Good morning, good night, wherever you are in the world. What's going on? Well, interesting day. A little bit of a crack and then a rally. I wish we were live trading right here. How's that? Look at that. That's exactly what we look for every morning. Anyways, the markets are making a little rush here now after we're under a lot of pressure, and we'll see. I think there is reason to believe that this is the final marking, end of the quarter, end of the month. So we'll see what happens here. Certainly, if you take them down first, you get a much bigger rally on the way back up. So we'll see what they look like. But I certainly think there's a little weakness out there. But no more weakness than there is in with our Speaker of the House, who didn't leave the SAVE Act on to get the budget passed. Kind of bullshit. Okay, I mean, this is this is our country, and they're fooling around with it. I don't get it, but of course we can all now go to jail and get a sex change, so we can go to a different prison if we want, and that's paid for by the government. And of course, your vice president was on that bandwagon in 2019. Okay, so anybody want to go get a sex change and go to go to jail, you can get it for free. But again, we're still in the same issue. Now, if you haven't noticed, the interest rates have gone up every single day since the Fed cut the rate. And if you don't know, okay, if you're not familiar with how that works, the federal funds rate, which is what the Fed's talking about, is the price at which they lend money to banks. Okay, it has nothing to do with what they're lending to you. Okay, what they lend to you is that what they make is the difference between the spread of the Fed funds rate and what they can lend it to you at, and that's their profit margin. So you don't think when there's a dramatic demand for money from people who can't survive, that are borrowing, whatever they're doing, you don't think that they're going to cut those rates for you, do you? Do you think they're going to give you a break and cut and make interest rates lower? Mortgage rates have been up three times since the Fed cut. So once again, we're in the same BS position. Okay, and as the election nears, I guess it was a month from tomorrow. Is that right? Or 5 weeks from tomorrow? Well, I think a month, right? Or 5, whatever it is. The more of the BS is out there flowing around. Okay, but in 2022, Harris said the border was secure, and now in 2024, in the election, she says she's going to secure the border. Well, isn't it already secure? Didn't she say that? Okay. And somebody wrote an interesting question in the chat room today, and I'm going to ask it to you guys. What are 35,000 illegal Chinese doing running around this country? Okay. Anybody got an answer for me? I know what my answer was, but anybody got an answer? Okay. I mean, if we're not careful, we'll be the CCP of the USA. But again, there's a lot of the highest amount of single-family delinquency rates ticked up in August. The PCE numbers are we're spending more than you're making, which is not a good scenario. Okay, how does that all work? All right, again, there's a lot of things to think about. And again, listen, I don't care who you are, who you vote for. I hope you go out and vote. But I hope you think about the shape of this country and what's going on right now and the shape you'd like it to be in, and maybe not so much for you, but for the future and for your kids. Okay, unless you're much younger. I mean, there's a pretty wide, diverse audience here. But for me, it's not going to make a difference, but it certainly will make a difference for my children and the someday potential of my grandchildren, which I may not be alive to see, but again, I mean, just look what's going on. Okay, I'm not asking to pick a side, but we can see that that all politicians are idiots. Okay, both sides. Speaker Johnson, lets the budget pass. I guess he wanted to get paid. He wanted to make sure he kept getting paid too. So, there's just so many things that are not good right now that I find it tragic that this is the country that I grew up in, because it certainly because we certainly uh, aren't seeing things that we used to see. We're seeing a lot worse. Mark Cuban guy, well, of course he's a Trump hater. Listen, you'll find a big percentage of the high um, of the high net worth people are not for Trump because he wants to level the playing field for the average person. Okay. Again, if you get into socialism or communism, it benefits the wealthy. So that's just something to remember. Anyways, markets are quiet. I mean, again, we had a big rally here late in the day, but it's not a surprise. I mean, it's kind of surprising when you saw him tanking earlier, and now you see this rally. You got a 200-point rally in the Nasdaq in the last 35 minutes. Does that mean that everything's all safe and good? I don't think so. I think that this is probably the last amount of, as they call it, window dressing. Okay, and we'll see. Listen, nobody knows for sure. Okay, we've been relatively flat because there hasn't been a lot really to do anyways. So again, it's quiet, volume is light, so we'll see where we go from here. If I were to guess, there's going to be a very large move coming. Okay, I've said this for a couple of weeks now, but I think there's a large move coming. Okay, you can see how narrow and how tightly it's traded, and we'll see. You could see a double bang here. You could see a push up that fails and collapses. Again, I have no idea. That would be my guess, and that is the way that I will play it from a trading standpoint. But again, there's a lot of things that have to happen for me to get there. But again, in the meantime, everybody says, well, if the economy is not good, how can the markets go up? Well, when's the last time the market cared about the economy? Okay. Again, money is money, and money goes where it's treated best. And right now, where else are you going to go? So we'll see. In the meantime, Connie, I know you're ready, but I have to always ask, are you ready? Nice little charge. Nice little charge. Look at this. We'll watch this together for a minute. Look at that. Look at that. Even reasonable volume here for the close. Look at it. All day long, you had no volume. These are 4-minute charts, by the way. And suddenly you're getting 3, 4, 5 times the volume you had all day long, which tells me that it is window dressing. It tells me that they're marking here for the end of the quarter. And we'll see. We'll know next Monday if I was correct or not. All right. Anyways, back to Connie. So the dollar, Delta X-ray Yankee, which we do not trade anymore. Again, it's simply, and it has nothing to do with the dollar. I say this every week. It's simply to do with dollars and cents. If we trade it, we have to pay the New York exchanges more to trade it. There's no interest. In the meantime, par or $1 is held up very well, but of course we are in a downtrend. Nothing has changed since last week. I think it's still $1 to $1.01. That's pretty much basic. Okay, so not changing much. There's not a lot of movement. There's not a lot to do here. Okay, so 1 to 1, a par or $1 to $1.01. The euro currency, okay, continues to also obviously vacillate. Okay, we are supposed to be long. We were flat today. Okay, and of course, it's really doing the exact same thing. I mean, the levels have not changed since last week. Approximately 111 to approximately 112.50. Okay, nothing has really changed. So we're seeing a lot of nothing going on and a lot of churning going on, and churning is going to lead to much bigger movement down the road. Okay, I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow, next week. That I can't tell you. Okay, I don't think it's going to be tomorrow because I'm playing golf tomorrow. So you can bet that it's going to be real busy tomorrow because I won't be around. And of course, the notes, which show you they've gone down every day since the Fed cut. Bang, bang, bang. Interest rates are rising, but we are right on support. And we were flat, the notes and the bonds today. We could be long, but in the meantime, I think you're looking at 114 as support And I'm going to tell you, I think 115 is now resistance. And I never normally make these ranges this tight, but you're going to get a big move here as well. Okay. Now, again, you're going to have rising inflation. Okay. Because that's what this cut in interest rates was all about, inflation. It wasn't about anything else. Okay. Because remember, if they can promote the illusion and more spending, that means that the government's tax coffers are getting filled by not the tax you pay on your income tax, but the hidden tax of inflation you pay on your phone bill, at the store, on the gasoline, on the groceries. That's what happens. So I'm making this very tight because I expect a big move. Okay. And I do expect a spike up and then a spike down. But either way, we're flat, but we should be long. Bonds, the same range. Okay. Nothing has changed. 123 to 126. Okay. Very tight. Okay. I think if you trade these or want to trade them, I would look for the issue of where they get either oversold or overbought to make a trade here. Okay. They haven't moved very much. They've been very quiet and very challenging as you've watched them. Okay. Bitcoin, Bravo, Tango, Charlie. It's no surprise that it sold off a little bit. We were long today, but it's no surprise that it sold off a little bit today. It is extremely overbought. We talked about this last week, that we wouldn't be surprised. And it gave us what you would think would be a false breakout to the upside, which I have to account for that now. I think 68,000. I think now you're at 60 to 68,000. 60 to 68,000. Okay. And I expect it to come back to 60. Okay. I'll get there. I'll get there, big boy. I hope so. There's two ways to think about that. Okay. And I'll talk about it shortly. Okay. In part two, I'll talk about that. Okay. But in the meantime, 60 to 68,000. But basically, we've been just in nothing but sweeping consolidation since February. Remember, the price of the consolidation doesn't matter. It's what does the average movement tell you? Okay. And gold, Charlie, no surprise. In fact, I wrote about it over the weekend that we were looking for a potential spot to get short this. We did not. Technically, it's still a short, but because it was up this morning, we didn't sell it. But again, here it is. It was overbought. And again, I think gold is going higher over time, but I think that this is a great opportunity. And I think it's coming back to 2,600. And I think our levels have not changed whatsoever. It came right up to the level we drew in last week, 2,700. And I think 2,600 is support. I think there's no doubt that gold is more in demand right now. I think that's what we're watching. I think people are genuinely getting concerned, and even of the potential of having to use it as a currency. Okay. Silver had a nice run up, reached right where we thought it would reach, just about 32.50, and now it's headed back down. I think I have to widen up the range a little bit, because you can see, if you're looking at the Bollinger Bands, and I don't use them, I use them to teach with, but you can see that the Bollinger Bands are widening, okay, which means that there's more activity in that market, okay? So I have to account for the activity that the bands are showing us right now, okay? And this can change, not intraday too fast, but it can change over time, okay? But right now, you notice that we were narrow, and now we're widening out. In fact, we're widening out on both sides. So 30 to 32.50. Platinum, which we don't trade anymore. Again, look at the same result. And I hope that you're all catching this when you look at the chart. Okay. That again, listen, selling or trading off the Bollinger Band is not a guarantee. Okay. But what it does tell you is it tells you that a market might be overextended to one direction or the other. Okay. And that if you can find an excuse or a reason to trade, for example, if you could have found a reason to short this, and I could have. I did not, but I could have. Okay. Then I would short it. And if it gets down here, if I can find a reason to buy it, I'll buy it. Okay. But again, I have to have a logical belief that it's going to move in the direction that I'm looking for. And I also have to protect it in case I'm wrong, because of course we can stay overbought or oversold for extended periods of time. Does that make sense? Just asking about cattle. Anyways, I didn't give you levels here, County, yet. I just realized 960 to 1020. 960 to 1020. Copper, not a surprise. Look at this here. Here's a perfect example of what I just said. This has been overbought since the 16th or 15th or 13th of September. It finally had a blow off peak here. Again, if you just sold it because it was overbought, you'd have got creamed. You needed a reason. And I didn't trade it. Okay. We were long it the entire time up. Okay. Until today. But at the end of the day, I don't see that there would have been a reason to sell it anyways. Now, again, there might have been. So I'm not, again, I don't like to talk about trades that I did not make myself. Okay. But looking at it, I can tell you that I wish I was paying attention because I probably would have sold it, not here, but probably somewhere down here a little bit. But in the meantime, it did spike. And I think that brings 487 into play. I think believe it or not, I think we have to give it a much wider berth right now because, again, 440 to 487, because you have a much wider berth in the Bollinger Bands, which is telling you that there's more volatility. And if you happen to have been paying attention on Friday, okay, out of nowhere, the VIX spiked up. Out of nowhere, okay? The markets didn't collapse. Nothing happened, but the VIX did spike, okay? So it's something to look at, okay? The grain markets, well, they had news today, but again, as I said on air today, and I'll tell you what I said the news don't mean shit to me, okay? The markets knew well in advance. And the chart itself shows you that there is more reason to be bullish here now than bearish. Okay. I think that you're still looking at the same levels, which is $5.60 to $6, but you can see that they're easing up. And if actually we should be long all the grains. We were only long corn, which was a nice winner today, which is the biggest winner on the board today. Okay. And of course, corn, which again, don't be surprised. Yeah, corn spiked up because the stocks report was. I mean, I only saw it because I saw it on RFD, but I say it was going up because it was going up anyways. Now, again, don't be surprised if 430 fails, okay, and pulls back. I would suspect, in fact, the levels I give you, 415 to 430, okay, and I would expect a little bit of a pullback. Okay. But I would be very, very cautious in trading this market from the short side right now, not because I'm worried about being short, but because there is the shorts, the funds are still carrying their biggest short position since 2019. Okay. And I think that they're going to get forced out. I think they're going to you're going to be a short covering rally. I really don't want to see it yet. I hope they keep fighting it for a while, because I'd like to see this grind higher versus jump higher. And soybeans, exactly what you expected. Run right up to our resistance at about 10.75, pulled right back down. I think our support now is still, $10. I think it's 10 to 10.75. And I expect them to come back. If I were looking to be a buyer, I'd be looking at about 10.25, if not sooner. Cattle markets, which I remain fighting. We don't trade them anymore. I do. I remain fighting this, and I don't understand it. Okay. I don't understand it. And combined in the economy, who's buying it, who's doing it. But I didn't think they'd get past 180 is what I said last week. And of course, they got to 185. Okay. I've been fighting it for a while, not quite a year, but for a while. Okay. I was sure from up here. Okay. Back in February or March. Okay. And I'm still fighting it. Again, listen, I have an exit plan. Okay. I have a stop working. Okay. If I'm wrong, I don't think I'm wrong yet. Again, I'm not telling you to do this. This is, again, it's a dangerous market, but I am short. But for our purposes, I think 186 is now resistance. I think 182 is now support. Yeah, that's the chart read. Okay. And feeders, which I don't trade at all, but again, they've come up a little bit, but they're still down, from their highs. I still think they're 238 to 248. Hogs continue to struggle, but they did have a nice move. And if you remember, we drew this in. A W pattern leads to a higher price. Well, it did. Okay, I think you're 76 to 80 now. 76 to 80, and I will be buying at 76. And that's basis February, by the way. Okay. 76. But again, I will not just outright buy it. It has to give me a reason when, if and when it does reach 76, I have to have a reason to participate. I don't participate in markets. I mean, occasionally I'll goof around, but I try to be disciplined enough not to play around and have a reason behind every trade that I make. Okay. So 76 to 80, natural gas, as I had a nice room and we've been nice run and we've been long, getting a little bit overbought. Okay. Now, again, I would suspect that this is going to have a little bit of a sell-off coming. You know, a lot of these things have been going on. I would think that 315. Now, again, especially if you're a newer trader or short capital trader trying to narrowly trade, this is not the product for you. Okay. But I would think that 315 would be a cap here, and 260. You notice how wide I have to make the range now. But certainly in this area, I don't think there's anything to do. And if any of this has been weather related and hurricane related, that's already been priced in now. Okay. So you can probably suspect that there's probably going to be a little bit of a pullback. Again, it's been overbought for a couple of weeks, and I expect to see a little bit of a pullback. Crude rallied as we thought it did and failed and came back down. I think you're still looking at, 67 to 72. Okay. But I do think 70 is a pretty good spot. Okay. To sell it. You've seen it try to make a couple of runs and fail. Okay. So I think, and we were long crude today as well as natural gas. And then the sauce, which we don't trade them at all anymore. But cocoa, we would be long. But again, these are not as much as these products. It's net gas and micro is not crazy to manage, but it can be very expensive. Okay. Again, in relationship to what your risk is, it can be very expensive. I'm not telling you not to trade. Look, if you're comfortable, don't let me tell you not to trade it. Again, the biggest part of trading, okay, for most, is the psychology behind trading. Okay. Knowing what can happen. If you're not uncomfortable with it, then I don't care. I'm not upset. I won't be upset about it. I just don't want you to get into a position you can't get out. Okay, that's always my concern. As those of you who know me best know that I'm always worried about you and what can happen, because I've seen just about everything. And trust me, I've had some monster beatdowns in my career. Okay. I mean, I've lost in a day what many people have never lost in their life. Okay. Anyways, I would think that, again, if this was an active market, it would have been a great sell. But again, this is only a position trading market. And crude oil levels, can I repeat them? I believe I said 66 or 68 to 72, if I remember correctly. I got to go back for a minute. 67 to 72. But you get them all written up for you. I sent them out to you. Yeah, 67 to 72. I sent them out to you. Anyways, again, I don't trade these, okay, except on occasion. Like I'll trade the softs now on a rare occasion if there's a reason. Okay. I have no reason right now. This is still pretty narrowly wound, 70 to 85. And cocoa, cotton, I'd like to see cotton take one more dip because I want to be a buyer. I talked to a cattle farmer the other day. He said there's a shortage of beef cows. I know that there are 20 cattle farmers around me. I do know that there's a shortage. Okay. But who's buying what's left? I don't know what consumers buying them. That's the problem is at some point, and again, I could be wrong. Again, listen, trust me, I'm not trying to convince you to be short with me. In fact, I'm glad that you're not. Okay. But what's helping you up the price? When price is too high, it takes care of the supply problem usually, but we'll see. Cotton, I'd love to see a pullback because I think cotton's going to finally take off, but for now it's still the same, 70 to 75. Sugar is, again, we were long, but we were not trading it. We would have been long. Okay. Overbought, came back a little bit. I would think that looking at this chart here, I think 22 should be some support, 22 to 24. Coffee, which we would be long, I think is 260 to 280. And OJ, which we would be short. Okay. And I think, again, I can't give you the same advice on this chart and on this product as I could give you on most. But if I were looking at this and if you gave me this chart random without what it was, I'd be looking to be a buyer of this. Okay. Because it is very oversold. It is a blow off to the downside. But this is not liquid enough, and they trade at odd hours, and I'm not getting screwed by those guys who trade it. Okay. Again, that's what you have to give up too much of the spread when you're trading on a short-term agenda, which is what I would be doing. I think that you're looking at here 445 to 480, 445 to 480. Okay. And lumber, which we don't trade at all, and nobody should be trading it. Again, I use it kind of as a bellwether for the economy. I don't know. I mean, it's not horrible, but it certainly is way down from its highs here, and it's certainly way down from its highs back up here. So again, I think it's saying that the economy is okay. What do you guys think? Is the economy okay? That's my question to everybody. Is the economy good or bad in your opinion? And not please don't make this political. Just personally, is your personal economy good or bad? I know a lot of people out here have lost jobs, okay, which is a problem, okay. Bad and getting worse, and you would be a perfect person to ask for that because you're very much involved in the meat of the economy. Sucks, mediocre, longshoremen or straight. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. I got that. My party bike stuff is dry. Yeah. Okay. So again, so a lot of these things don't make a lot of sense. But again, remember, they don't have to make sense. Okay. The market is the market. It's absolute. Okay. And you remember, most working people, if they're still working, when they judge the economy, they judge that they can buy their groceries, and then they look at their 401k. All right. Two voting places going out of business. That makes sense. But that's what people look at. They look at their own life. They look at their savings. They look at if they can afford to feed their kids. They don't care how much credit card debt they're in. As long as they can make those payments, they don't care. Only the charts make sense. That's true. Very good point. See? But at the end of the day, it's always the old story, right? It's a recession if your neighbor lost his job, and it's a depression if you lose your job. And if you're working, every time I go to the store, I come with less money. Yeah, I sort of heard a joke yesterday. I got much stronger at my age now because I can now lift up in one bag $100 worth of groceries. In the meantime, any questions on part one before we flip to part two?
You know how the financial world goes. Here comes the buzzkill. Please make sure to take some time to read this boring disclaimer. We will owe you one.